believe this is Carrington. Pretty sick, my dude. Wait, is that Seth? Oh, that was Seth. Welcome back to the homestead. We've got Carrington up here on our scout camp out, middle of the night, middle of the mountains, hitting some sweet air, trying to find him a lady. 20 years old, ladies, he is eligible. Call him. We got Jelly making some sick air right here, no big deal. Sick. Ah, that's cold. Welcome back to the homestead. We just got done with our annual scout camp out up at my cabin. The cool thing about it is it gives us an opportunity once a year to get these boys out of their house, away from their phone, away from their video games, and live off grid. So I want to have a discussion today on how would you do in an off-grid scenario? Because my cousin, who's 65 years old, single lady, just got done with an 8-day power outage up in Oregon. How would you do without the power for 8 days? That's the discussion. She learned some amazing things and I went and wrote them down. I did an hour-long interview with her and it was some fantastic stuff. She says, first of all, obviously, no internet, no mail, no gas station, no propane. Half of the people around her, even up there, did not have stoves. And so we're gonna talk about that, she said, because they froze. These people with these big, beautiful ivory homes. You know what? If you don't have a fireplace, well, what good is that house if you live in a cold environment? Well, it's not worth very much. So they talked about this one family. She said, Nate, he had the most beautiful wife and 5 kids, and they all sat by their little propane, element in their fancy, beautiful fireplace. And the father ran a generator outside so that he could bring an extension cord into the house and have a little fan just sitting right by that little element to try to distribute heat. That's not enough. Now, she invited anyone that wanted to come in, but it was 8 days. And so a lot of people were just setting up their tents inside of their living rooms and walling off a room to try to stay warm. But if you were in more of a prolonged situation, that big, beautiful house without heat, what is it? So I have a few ideas as far as a solution to that. One is if you can afford it, you should really look into getting a fireplace in your house. Even if you just flew one off, if you can't fit it in your fancy decorations, what about just trying to save money for a chimney? Now, and if you can't do that, I get it. But if you want an emergency solution, have you ever seen those little cylinder stoves? I'm going to do a video on it because you can actually retrofit them to go right outside of a window. So you can put it in your shed. It's just an emergency backup. And then you have some peace of mind that because you don't have a fireplace, maybe you can't afford it. Or maybe you're not quite where I'm at with my trust of government in the world situation. As you can tell, I don't want to be reliant upon anyone, especially a government, to provide for my family. But some people can't afford it. But these cylinder stoves, you can get some for maybe $300 to $500. And again, it's not going to be up to code. It's not going to be something you'd want to do for a long-term solution. But in an emergency situation, you got to have something. Because our houses are amazing places of refuge if they're heated. All right, we're just wrapping this thing up. So the one thing I will say, I'm trying out, a friend of mine owns Fortress Clothing, and I'm trying out his winter gear. I don't even know what it's called, but it's amazing. Like, it's Fortress something. But the idea of heat storage is intriguing to me because I'm a big water storage and food storage guy, seed storage guy, fuel storage guy. And I'm having this new paradigm shake that if you can have adequate clothing, even if it costs a little bit more money, you're storing it's like you're storing your own body heat. And that's what this stuff does. Honestly, when I was going up to the cabin, I had too many layers of clothing on, and he told me, and I didn't believe him. And so I was flipping roasting, even though we had like this easterly wind coming up against us. I was burning up. And so on the way back down, I shed like all that other stuff. So I just pretty much have this on. I have an undergarment on, like just a single white kind of like t-shirt garment. And then this on. And I did put like a coat on, but it's just a light Burton coat that's just enough to protect it from basically wind. And I tell you what, that was awesome. So something that I really keep on, I've been bugging Becca about, is that we need to go and re-inventory all of our winter gear and buy adequate winter gear, not just Walmart stuff that lasts one season. So that's something I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to think of a solution like this for my whole family. Just an idea. All right, so some of the things that she learned. She had her firewood already prepped, already right by her back door. So when the power went out, you know what she did? She walked right outside, grabbed some wood, and built a fire. She had the fireplace, she had the wood. 2, water was a necessity. 8 days, no pump for her well. And so all the needs of water as far as washing, that became just a massive, massive need. And she's saying even gray water. So she said, Nate, I do a lot of bottling. And what I've done is I've filled every empty jar back up with water. And so that water then became gray water. Water to wash your hands, water to heat on the stove, water to clean with, water to put in your toilet. Because water was of a scarcity, she was only flushing the toilet, TMI, about 2 times or once every 2 days. Makes sense. So if you have some of that gray water, then that's a great place to put it in. Use it for toilet or for cleaning or whatever. So lighting, she says that was obviously a big deal. So she had a bunch of those just the little lights that you can turn on. They have a little hook on, just like a little lantern. And she would, put it in the bathroom when she was, in like washing herself or in the kitchen or whatever. After a while, she got a little bit nervous about the battery consumption. And so she started to use a kerosene lantern. Now, one thing about that, my mom just bought me, because my mom is a prepper like myself. That's where I get it from. I get it from my mama. She bought me one of those little tiny lights, about 4-inch tall, and it's a solar light too. So it's really cool. So if you were worried about batteries, as we all should be, so I've stocked up on batteries. I've got 3 different battery banks. But still, if you were in an emergency situation where it was going to be long term, a couple weeks, a month, heaven forbid longer than that, you're going to be very self-conscious using those batteries. So if you can find those little solar flashlights, amen. Okay, so she had some of those, historic kind of glass lanterns, and she had them filled with kerosene. And one thing she learned, she's like, Nate, that is very smelly. It's, if you have it in the house, if you're kind of like stressed and doing all this other stuff, having that smell was something she did not like to do. So she burnt that out and then started using that. I think it's called paraffin. Basically just that more refined, clear lamp oil that you find at the store. I'm glad she told me that, because honestly, I was going to go get like 10 or 15 gallons worth of kerosene for my kerosene lantern. So that has me rethinking that. I might buy some of that more expensive paraffin oil for the inside, and I'll probably still store some kerosene anyway because it's cheaper. So lighting, super big issue. Because if you're working day and night and you come inside and you haven't eaten yet and it's dark and you're trying to get food, grind your wheat, whatever you're going to do, if you have adequate lighting, I think that'd be a huge blessing. Just real quick, look at this. Not this. Is that absolutely beautiful? I love coming up here. I love the reminder. We take the scouts, we just get them out of their element. I'm telling you, kids need to do hard things. We don't get out here for the sake of being hard. We had fun. We had steak, we had mushrooms, we had tiki punch. Because we make it fun, we get these kids to come out every year. This is the 18th year. Seriously, it's a tradition. Like, I don't think I could say no. So we had about 23 this year. Last year we had 40. We have a state basketball game tomorrow, so we're missing some kids. But what I'm getting at is we have got to teach our kids, teach our boys to be boys so they can grow up to become men. Massive issue with that. We have massive testosterone issues in America. If you want to go down a rabbit hole, look that one up. Okay, so she had a well, which was awesome for her to have water, but she had a pressure tank, so she knew she was limited on that water. Now, if you don't have a well like myself, what do you do for water storage? So I personally like the 5-gallon jugs of water. I've used the 50-gallon jugs in the past, and maybe you do a little bit of both. For me personally, though, I moved a lot of my water, my drinkable water, to those 5-gallon jugs because they're movable. So when we had a situation where our drinking water is contaminated, so I brought one of those jugs from the basement and I just walked it right upstairs, and we drank from it until the boil order was gone. In addition, if you don't have enough room for adequate storage, like if you can, you want to have a 2-week supply of water, and it's a lot. Water's the issue. We'll do a water video because I've got a lot of solutions that I have felt impressed and prompted to do, and I'm not saying that they're the best ideas, but they're my ideas, and I'd love to share them. And you can steal from it as you may. But, having an Alexa Pure or a Berkeley water filter, I don't care really which one you get. I use Alexa Pure, but I think Berkey's actually more common. But if you can have one of those, each of those filters can filter thousands of gallons. And so if you can do something like that, so that if you had to get water from a different unclean source, like a stream or a river or a lake, that you could purify it and have drinkable water, you'd probably be grateful you did so. So water was something she was worried about. She was saying that she only ate like about once a day and it was adequate for her. I mean, she's amazing. She just went into full-on survival mode and killed it.
Hey, girls.
I wish I could just take 8 days off and see how I would do. Probably not as good as her, but I'm trying. So she was talking about how so many people lost their freezer. So the power is off long enough and they weren't cold enough. So they had this ice storm, but then it warmed up. And so the power's still off because all of these massive transmission lines go down. And so they lost everything in their freezer. I have felt as a prep of mine to always keep my freezers full, but then to always have enough bottles, enough bullion, enough propane so that I could hunker down over the first 2 or 3 days if I knew it was a prolonged situation and harvest or process everything in my freezer. I'm talking about the hamburger, I'm talking about the steak, I'm talking about all of it. So the know-how is obviously extremely important, but if you've got $1,000 worth of meat, what about having a few extra propane tanks that you could process that meat and save it? Because I'll tell you what, if you had propane in a if you had propane, I'm talking about protein from the meat in a long-term situation, you are going to be well above, well ahead. Okay, so freezer. She talked about having letter writing stuff because where she couldn't do anything, she was writing letters to her family, to her daughter, and to her mom, and to everyone in her family. I thought that was an interesting takeaway. I don't know. What would you do in that kind of situation? Now, she said lots of undies, as in underwear, because you're not showering as much and you're working probably physically twice as hard. Look at all these scouts. You're going to want to have a change of clothes. So there you go. Take it. So she was saying that gas and propane were just immediately gone, you know, because if they could go about an hour away and have these items, but they weren't immediately around all the gas stations near them because power was out. And so it became the one that was, you know, fairly close, maybe 45 minutes or so away. She said on the Mondays, they would come and fuel things up. And there would just be a line of people and then it would just be gone. So people have to travel further to get their items. So what can you do to store up on gas and propane? She talked about technology, obviously being immediately gone. She said some of these families were so proud of themselves because they hooked up a generator and they were able to get the power, enough power to charge their electronic devices. And I don't know, what a waste of resources. This kind of reminds me on that Leave the World Behind. And that one girl, all that she cared about was watching the last episodes of Friends, literally while Rome was burning around her. Technology's gone, guys. You're gonna have a mental health crisis. How would your kids do? I know my kids would struggle, and I'm always taking their electronic devices away. So there's a few more takeaways. The last one is she has emergency radios, but it took her a while to find them. If I were to be honest, I don't know how soon I'd be able to find my radio. So maybe you want to dig some of this stuff out and kind of do some dry runs of this kind of stuff. All right. Well, my scouts are telling me we got to go. So in the comments below, tell me what you would add to this list. This isn't an exhaustive list. This is just a list of things learned from my cousin, who's an little bit older than me, single lady who did it. Guys, I'll maybe make another video on this, but if you are paying attention to the news on Valentine's Day, we got a report that Russia apparently has launched a space weapon, even a space nuclear weapon, capable of taking out all of American satellites. I mean, that sounds like an EMP to me, but if this situation happened, how would you do? So that's the video. All right, thanks for watching. Remember, like and subscribe. More content over at the Manor. We've been doing big things. All right. That's one way to get down the mountain. So, Nixon, Bryce, what exactly are you doing out here in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night? It's no big deal. Little twisty turny, about hit the kids coming up from going potty. No big deal. We're safe here. Going potty waddy, #1, baby. This is my oldest boy, Kason. Yes, he's eligible, available, single, everything but desperate. Oh, looks like he'll still be single after that one. Savage. Okay, move, bud.
Are you going 1 or 2? 1? That second pump, I keep tasting it.
That job, dude.
So bad.
Holy crap, that's some air, dog pound. Was that Seth? Yeah. Nice job, my dog. Just like I taught you. I'm just kidding. Well, it is almost the middle of the night, and these scouts are just getting started. Got to be proud. America, this is how you harden your kids up. Too many kids are sitting home depressed and anxious because they don't do anything hard or cold.
Bryce is under the sled depressed.
Bryce is. We'll go see. All right, where's this jump I keep hearing about?
What up?
Right down there.
What's up, my dog? This is
What
Mr. Jelly.
up? Yo. What up?
You catching some air?
No.